You're trapped. You've got to go.
Hello, welcome to Movie Numbers. My name is Bob Sham.
I'm Angela.
The sounds here may be dogs vomiting. Movies are gay. All month long, movies are gay. And classic movies with a lot of subtext. I like talking about gay subtext in classic movies. Classic movies they're gayer than gay porn. I'm going to go out and I'm going to straight up say that.
Agree to disagree.
So, last year we talked about a fellow by the name of James Whale, who, if you knew him in his time, you knew he was gay. You knew it. If you thought you knew him personally and didn't know he was gay, you didn't know him personally.
No.
He lied to you. But old James Whale was a famous classic gay director. And while he was making Invisible Man, which followed up his smash hit Frankenstein, he insisted that the studio buy the rights to a novel called Benighted, written by a J.B. Priestley. And from that, he was able to make a film that was actually not a hit in its time, which was a surprise because it starred Boris Karloff. Mm-hmm. Who was a huge star at this time. Yet another movie that in retrospect now is more considered one of his best movies. So this movie, it seems very tongue-in-cheek while also scary. It's like it's creating tropes and teasing them at the same time. This is a strange film, but also incredibly entertaining. It's a movie that inspired many movies, including Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Absolutely. The
Old Dark House from 1932, directed by James Whale, written by Ben Levy, R.C. Sheriff, and J.B. Priestley, and it stars Boris Karloff, Melvin Douglas, Gloria Stewart, who is the Elder Rose in Titanic, Ernest Thesiger, who we have discussed before. He's Dr. Pretorius in Bride of Frankenstein. Very gay. Charles Lofton, also very gay, married to Elsa Lanchester, who was also gay. And he directed one of the greatest movies of all time, Night of the Hunter.
Yes.
And was so distraught by the mixed reviews that he never made another movie again. And Lillian Bond, who was pretty hot in this movie. Anyway, The Old Dark House from 1932. You're kind of programmed if you've watched a lot of horror when you see this movie and you come to expect these beats to happen in a certain way. And I can't really say that the story here is truly that coherent.
No.
It is. I won't know how much is even adapted from the novel Benighted, which seems to be more about British class structures.
Yeah.
And James Whale, this is an American film, but James Whale got all British actors to star in this movie. When you think certain things are going to happen, because your brain is trained on horror beats, it just doesn't happen completely, or it becomes something that seems like it's suddenly not that big of a deal. The writing in this movie, I can't say is extremely coherent, but the movie is incredibly entertaining in how foundational it is. Some friends are stuck in the rain and they're on the road. They're in Wales, right? And they're trying to, I don't know where they're trying to go, but the storm is real bad and they happen to come upon an old dark house.
This is the part that is the beginning of Rocky Horror Picture Show. The part where Brad and Janet are in the car and they're driving and they get a flat tire. In this movie,
there is a light, right?
There's a light over at the Frankenstein.
We won't sing it, but
there's a light.
There's a light.
In this movie, it's because the road is flooded and there are some boulders that fall.
Which was a fun little old effect.
It looked really good. They have someone else in the back of the car, but you get that very, we're stranded, we don't know where we are, it's dark, it's the middle of the night, it's raining.
Oh, look, Phil, light, pull in there.
Get out of the car, they go and they knock on the door, and truly, even in that moment, Boris Karloff,
yes,
opens the door very slowly, just like Riff Raff.
And you think of also Psycho or movies like that, where like peeking through the doors and shit like that.
Absolutely.
So right there, it comes off foundational. And
And then you have the fabulous gay man walking down the staircase.
He comes down the staircase and the camera like zooms on him. And then he's like,
My name is Fem. Horace Fem.
The introduction to this character is one of my favorite in all movies of all time because he says that line. Then he comes down the stairs. They have a little bit of an interchange, but he goes towards the fire. He picks up a vase, because he would say vase, and flowers, and he says,
My sister was on the point of arranging these flowers.
and then chucks them in the fireplace. And in that moment, you can just tell so much about him.
I'm truly not sure if this is a horror or a comedy. It seems like it's equal parts
Dark comedy?
I guess, literally dark. Horace's sister comes down. Rebecca Fem is played by Eva Moore, and she's half deaf, though it seems like she can hear when she wants to.
Yeah, she's only deaf when she doesn't want.
All these old movies
respond.
need, especially the James Whale horror theme movies, need a shrill old woman in them. They all require that. And Morgan is also their, he's played by Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff.
He's their brother, right?
Yes. He's either their brother or he might be Saul's son. That's very unclear.
He's also their butler. Well, he's a pretty good butler. I mean, he gets the job done, and we sit down for like a dinner scene.
Yes.
And you're expecting something insane to happen, but it's just, watching them pass the pickled onions and the potatoes.
I loved that scene because of how monotonous it is in a way. You see the way everyone's interacting with each other. So the players are the husband and wife and their friend Pendleton. Pendrell. And then you have Horace and his sister and their butler at this point. She just shrieks everything.
It's a dreadful night. What? I say, it's a dreadful night. Yes, it's a very old house. Very old.
The men go outside to get the bags and to move the car into the garage. They bring the bags inside, and the wife says, I'm very dirty, or I'm very wet, can I change my things? And then the wife, I don't know why I can't remember her name, is changing into the fanciest dress and jewelry to be at this rando's house in the middle of a storm.
Well, the old woman is up there, like, talking about...
You think of nothing but your long, straight legs and your white body and how to please your man. You revel in the joys of fleshly love, don't you? That's fine stuff, but it'll rot. That's finer stuff still, but it'll rot too in time.
Don't!
Touches her, and it kind of freaks her out. And then
she's also talking in these mirrors, like she's reflected in like warped ways.
Yeah, the mirrors are cracked, and they warp the faces as they're looking through, and it scares her to see her reflection there. And it does look very creepy, like not like blatantly scary, but like unsettling.
Yes. It's extremely unsettling. And then for some reason, Rebecca leaves and the girl finishes getting ready, but she opens a window. People do things that don't make sense. She opens a window in the middle of a storm. And
you think that Rebecca, you're kind of assuming like the Burbs or something, like they're going to end up being bad, right?
Yeah.
And that Rebecca telling the stuff about aging and warning her that things will turn and rot, that's going to lead to something, or even that's when she opens her window and gets freaked out at the storm and has to run out, that's going to come back in some way. Not really. It's just a weird thing that happens in the house.
There's two sort of callbacks to it, and I can mention them when we get there.
So they eat dinner.
Have a potato.
Thank you. I should love a potato.
Gloria Stewart's character, Margaret, is seeing her shadow.
That's one of the callbacks. She sees her shadow, and she's kind of making like...
Yeah, having
cutesy,
fun with it.
But then here comes the shadow of the woman over to her to touch her again. She's not really there.
To represent how one day she will be aging or something, like the old woman inside her that she will become or something.
Maybe. What she sees in the shadow is what actually happened.
Because
it's almost like this house is having
reverberations
of what has happened before.
Rebecca and Horace, they seem like they're up to something, but they're not.
Horace is scared.
They're hiding something, but they're not trying to actively hurt anyone.
No.
But there is a point where they're all sitting around and hanging out, and Horace mentions that
I wonder, Mrs. Waverton, whether it happens to tell you that I am wanted by the police.
Why, no, Mr. Fem. It tells me nothing so romantic.
After all, can you conceive of anybody living in a house like this if they didn't have to?
Well, there's no accounting for tastes, you know.
Yes, this is after Mr. Lancaster, I know that's not his name, and the
right,
showgirl show up.
Mr. Porterhouse is played by Sir Lofton, who shows up with Lillian Bond, who's playing Gladys Duquesne / Perkins. She's a sugar baby, and Mr. Porterhouse is a man who lost his wife.
Very young.
And he's become very wealthy. He talks about it as though it's something of a burden on him. Like, this is all I know how to do.
He doesn't have anything
I don't
else.
have love anymore.
Yeah.
And he has this companion, but they're not in love.
And they don't even do anything physical. She says that he just talks to her.
Lofton's character, effeminate in some ways as well. Yes. But he's very boisterous, very party guy. He comes off like he's the man with all the jokes.
Nothing like roast beef when a man's hungry. Oh, the roast beef of old England. How does that go?
He's the guy that you would have said, yes, he lost a wife young, and now he's just eccentric asexual.
Gladys, who we learn is Perkins, she almost immediately is into Melvin Douglas's Roger Pendrell.
Yeah, and
they go
Pendrell's
off
into her too.
And like a classic movie, when they like each other, that means they're in love, and they're probably going to be engaged within 2 days.
By the cold light of the next morning, I love their scene. Like, genuinely love the way that they interact with each other. Though it happens so fast, there's a tentativeness to it that is so sweet. Because when he wants to tell her that he wants to hold her, he says, maybe we can pretend that we're lovers. And maybe I can press you close to me. And she says, yes, I would like that. And then they very quickly decide that they're going to be together. And she says to him, this might be insane, but I want to live with you.
So there's a point where Horace gets Raymond Massey's character Philip to go upstairs and find a lamp. After that scene, the Gloria Stewart's character ends up getting chased by Morgan, like around the house.
Morgan has gotten drunk. Morgan is not to be trusted when Morgan is drunk. We don't know why. We also know that there's 4 levels to this house. So on the bottom floor is where Rebecca lives. On the second floor is where Horace lives. On the third floor is their father, who is 102.
Right.
And on the 4th floor is a locked room with a lamp outside of it. Now, why you would keep your one gas lamp in a house where you barely have electricity on the very top floor, I don't know.
Well, the electricity does go out a lot.
Horace is so afraid of Saul, who is the person behind the locked door, that he doesn't even want to go beyond his 2nd floor in this house. So you think it's going to be a monster or something terrifying is going to happen up there, but you're right. It's interesting how boring it is. He gets up there and he says, oh, there's the lamp. Oh, there's a plate. There's a lock on the door, but... And
he busts Horace he busts Morgan over the head
later,
as he's chasing Gloria Stewart around the castle. Yeah, you think something's going to happen to Philip, but no, he just gets the lamp, and that's it.
Yeah.
But he does notice that there's a locked door, and he hears a noise out, and after he rescues Gloria Stewart's character, they go up and they talk to it, and it's a lady
playing their father,
playing their the house resident's father.
Would you like to go to sleep now?
No, not just yet. You see, it may be...
It may be what?
dangerous.
You mean Morgan?
No, not Morgan. I mean from my eldest son, Saul.
Saul?
They didn't tell you about Saul.
And the father talks about how Saul once caught the house on fire, and that explains a lot about Morgan, because Morgan can't really speak. They say that he's dumb, and I did quotes, and he has a burnt half of a face. So you must assume that he got that burn when Saul attempted to burn the house up before. But Morgan loves Saul, which is why I think Morgan might be Saul's son, because Saul is very old also. Like, not very old, but he's white hair and he's older. And the thing about Morgan is if Morgan gets drunk, he will try to let Saul out because he loves Saul. But he's also the only person who can control Saul. So if Saul were to say, pick the lock and get out, Morgan would be the one that would put him back. Yeah, in this instance, he goes and gets Saul out of the room and then becomes this huge, what do we do? And
it's a cool shot where we see a hand on the banister.
Yeah.
And then Morgan walks down and it looks like it's just disembodied.
It's really cool. But then, so the two gentlemen, the husband and Porterhouse,
Laughlin.
They go with Rebecca. They grab Morgan and they go with Rebecca to try to lock him in the kitchen. And they're gone for a little while. So then you're left with the two ladies and Pendrell and Saul. And Pendrell hides the ladies in an armoire or in a closet and says, don't make a noise. And so he's alone with Saul. And he also handles him very well because Saul's crazy. Pendrell's alone. Saul's crazy.
He seems sympathetic to him at first because Saul is playing up his victimization.
He's very coy.
But then Saul starts to crack.
From the start, somehow, I liked you, and I thought you liked me.
Like you, my friend, I love you. Did you know my name is Saul? Saul, my friend. And Saul loved David.
Yes, indeed he did.
But Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house.
And that laugh?
Look, there's Morgan. He's come for you. Morgan!
Stop it! Don't move!
He's got a knife from the roast dinner. And there's a point where he throws the knife. I love the old school effects. They're fun.
Too.
But they get into it and they fall off the top of the stairwell.
Yeah, banister breaks.
Straight up, like Mankind, Mick Foley, off the
from
top.
the top
boom,
of the cage.
From the top of the cage, right through the announce table.
Oh, my God.
And around this same time, Morgan breaks out of the kitchen. So here come all the men and the women come out as well. And Morgan goes like he's going to go after the women because he really wants this blonde young woman from Titanic. He really wants her.
It's really funny how the Gloria Stewart's character is getting chased. She's scared out of her mind. And then the next scene, they're like, let's go talk to the old man on floor 3 or whatever.
Well, it's a little backwards from that. So she got scared by the shadow woman. That's when she ran and found her husband. Then they went and met the father. Okay. Then Morgan chased her and her husband beat him over the head. So there was more of a build than that, but it's all crazy. And she's been scared since the beginning. So it doesn't really matter.
And Pendrell, everyone thinks Pendrell's like real hurt. So
because Saul is dead.
Yeah.
Morgan realizes Saul is dead, so he leaves the girls alone, and he picks up Saul and carries him upstairs. Also, Saul was trying to catch the house on fire. That's why they got in this scuffle. So all these things are happening everywhere.
While people are getting shoved in kitchens, Rebecca tells whoever she talks to when Saul is out that, oh, y'all are going to have to kill Saul. Like, she tells them that.
Yeah.
It's like, so Rebecca is not in on Saul murdering anyone else. They're not for that.
No.
They're just weird, eccentric people who are trapped in a house with their own psycho brother.
This is their solution to what a family with more money or maybe a few decades later would have had Saul lobotomized or put him in a hospital or an institution. But instead, they lock him up upstairs.
Do you think that's their family home or did they just show up at this place?
Well, okay. It's weird because
the latter.
So Rebecca says to Horace at one point, I know this house better than you do, but here's what I think. I think, because like you said, Horace did at one point say, I'm wanted by the police.
Yeah.
And he doesn't elaborate, but he says, why would you be here if you weren't? So I think this is their family home. I think potentially they grew up here, but as soon as Horace could get the fuck out of that house, he did. But then something happened. and he had to run home. And now he's under his sister's thumb because he can't be kicked out, because where's he going to go?
So, yeah, Saul's dead. Morgan has walked off holding his body to wherever. We don't see him again. And so they're all keeping watch. And
this is great.
Mr. Porterhouse is actually, because Pendrell's so wrecked, they think he might be permanently injured. And his new girlfriend is sad, but
the scene is gorgeous because
Porterhouse
is sitting there with this old spear, and at his feet,
He's
Gladys
protecting
is
them.
sitting on the ground at his feet, and Pendrell's head is in her lap, and he's like snoring. And it's just this very cute scene of, because at one point they tell Porterhouse, hey, we're in love. He doesn't even get mad.
He's not mad, maybe a little bummed at losing a companion.
Yeah, he's sad, but he's going to be like their uncle now.
But he's not upset.
No, he still loves her, and by extension loves him.
So the next morning, the sun is out, the storm has subsided, and here comes Horace.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Waverton. Good morning.
As though nothing happened.
He says to the married couple, I think you could go fetch an ambulance now. And so they go to leave, and he goes out to the porch and he says,
Goodbye. So happy to have met you.
At some point, Horace just went to bed after they chilled at the fire.
When
and
the
he's
lamp
like,
happened,
I'm gone.
When the
Yeah,
lamp
he
happened,
sends up
he
to get the
never came
lamp.
back. He missed all the shit with Saul. He missed all the shit with
No, he went to bed.
everyone dying. He truly said, and remember that one part? When he was walking up to get the lamp and he was trying to talk the man out of going up there, he was like,
This is my room. Oh? There are one or two things that I should very much like for you to see.
I should like to very much, but you must show me some other time. We've got to get that lamp.
Yes.
don't you want to? Yeah, I would, except I'm on this path right now.
It's just so funny. The next day, Horace is like,
Lovely to have met you. It's so crazy.
and they realize that Pendrell is going to be okay.
He wakes up and he asks Gladys to be his wife.
And that's the end of the movie. It ends on a prominent note.
There's so many things we didn't even talk about because we can't. Like,
There's no one's evil here.
no one is evil.
As far as we know.
Saul is
mentally
crazy.
ill.
Yes.
Morgan has his own troubles,
Yes.
but he's not a bad person. Horace is,
And he's not violent until he's drunk. He's just a drunk.
Horace may have a weird past, but he seems the most
No,
fun.
he's lovely.
Rebecca is annoying, but not trying to really hurt anyone. Just wants to warn them that you will get old one day.
There's also a huge undercurrent of a conversation between Horace and Rebecca about how she is so religious and he is an atheist.
Did you hear what he said? There's a landslide and floods. The lake has burst its banks. We're trapped. We're trapped. We've got to go. You hear? We've got to go.
And you're afraid, Horace. You're afraid, aren't you? You don't believe in God, and yet you're afraid to die. You've seen his anger in the sky, and you've heard him in the night. And you're afraid. 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 Where's your mocking now? You may well be afraid. Your time will come.
She admonishes him for
pre-code.
trying to cut the roast before she's prayed. He makes fun of her for needing how she thinks the tough roast is going to be more tender if she thanks her God for it. You know, it's really blasphemous.
And they had a sister that died
because she was a whore.
because she was a hoe and did not give it up for God. Rebecca tells us about this.
And Daddy was bad too. And Saul was bad.
Yeah, it seems like they're all just consigned to their current
Bad
fates
in Rebecca's eyes.
based on their past. Seems like they were all worse at some point, but they're all just kind of,
Except Rebecca, she's a saint.
they're all cursed with each other at this
She's a
point.
martyr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the old dark house. Very, very strange. Like I said, it kind of invents tropes, but also makes fun of them at the same time, which
Yeah.
I've never seen before.
There's also a funny bit between Gladys and Pendrell about her shoes and how he puts his shoes on her and he's constantly wiping her feet. But there's this part where her shoes are all wet, so he's carrying her through the rain and up the stairs to the house, and he's straight up falling over.
Yeah,
and it's wonderful. It's such a wonderful little thing to keep in. I could just imagine James being like, no, don't do it again. That's what you would do.
Yeah.
You would fall. It's slippery.
It does seem like a challenging scene to do.
Yeah.
So you're going to give this 1 through 5. I'm going to give it 1 through 5 combined for a best out of 10. I think I'm going to go gosh, it really is ground floor for a lot of horror we know.
There's a
so much so that it threw me off when the tropes that we've developed didn't come to fruition.
Right.
It almost seems like the joke is on us kind of feeling that we would even assume that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I'm going to go with 3.75.
Okay. I am going to go 4.25.
So that is an 8 out of 10. All right, folks. So take a look right at a respectable A. It's amongst films like Past Lives, Prince of Darkness, Rope, and Manhunter. It's at least as good as those movies, if not better. It's also right under Thanksgiving, which we were very nice to that movie. Yes, The Old Dark House. It is a bona fide A. I don't imagine that will move its place.
No.
But so check the show notes for links, other places to find us. More gay movies all month long. Plenty more. Join us this Wednesday for a movie that won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. All right. Check the show notes for links. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. We like it when you do that. What's your favorite James Well movie? I think mine is still Bride of Frankenstein at this point. Still, yeah. I just have a soft spot for that movie. But yeah. In the meantime, did you know that you're gay?
Movies are gay, and so are you.
You probably won't believe me, but Bill doesn't expect anything. Do you know what I mean by anything?
Yes, I know what you mean by anything.
He likes people to think he's ever so gay. You see, for all his money, he's a bit lonely.
Yes, I spotted that when he told us the story of the cotton dress.